Please remember to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. In this video, we will continue with the timeline and go over the Antichrist. In upcoming videos, we will build on each part of the timeline until we have removed most mysteries from what will take place in the future. But first, it's necessary to dispel certain things I've read in the comment section regarding the 7-year tribulation and the Antichrist. 2 Peter 3:15, and account that the long suffering of our King is salvation, even as our beloved Paul also according to the wisdom given unto him hath written unto you, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of things in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable wrest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction. Let's look at the word rest. It means to pull, force, or move by violent wringing or twisting movements. It's where we get the word wrestle. We don't fight the scriptures. We accept what it says and find confirmation in another place. When you study where they get the 7-year tribulation, it's some bizarre calculation from Daniel regarding 70 weeks, and 1 week is missing, and who knows? I will go over in more details going forward, but we don't guess and we don't expound. We go to another place and get confirmation. So now back to the timeline. The tribulation is Israel going into slavery. The power that holds everything together will be broken, i.e. the weather patterns get disorganized, and soon after the war starts. Jeremiah 50 and 51 give the details of the war. Jeremiah 51 verse 36. Therefore thus saith the Most High, Behold, I will plead thy cause, and take vengeance for thee. And I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. When you read chapter 50, this is the destruction of Babylon. Those who follow the news know that many of the waterways in Babylon are drying up. This is the precursor of the war. Verse 45, My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Most High. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall come in 1 year, and after that in another year shall a rumor and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. This is talking about the war against Babylon. During this war, Yeshua or Christ shows up. So the question is, what does he do when he comes? Well, he will destroy the Antichrist. But who is the Antichrist? So let's read 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there be a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he as Elohim sitteth in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. Remember ye not that when I was with you I told you these things? And now you know what withholdeth, and he that might be revealed in his time. But the mystery of iniquity doth already work, and only he now letteth that will let, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the king shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So we see that Yeshua or Christ would destroy this Antichrist or this person with the brightness of his coming. So the rule is we don't expound on this verse with random ideas that come to our head. We seek other sources. So now let's read Revelation chapter 19 verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was the Word of Elohim. And the armies which were in heaven followed him on white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. So we know that this is Yeshua's coming. His eyes were a flame of fire is the first clue, and his name is the Word of Elohim, should seal it that it is Yeshua. So this is the same thing Paul is talking about. So we know that Yeshua is coming to make war in Revelation, and according to Paul, it's with the Antichrist. So now let's read Isaiah chapter 63, verse 1. Who is that comes from Edom, with dyed garments from Basra, that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in his greatness of his strength? I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden in the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them down in my anger, and I will trample them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. The day of vengeance and the day of the Most High are the same days. When we link Isaiah 62, verse 2, wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, with Revelation 19:13, vesture dipped in blood, when we read Isaiah verse 3, the red clothes are the blood from the people he will kill. So we know that Thessalonians, Isaiah, and Revelation are talking about Yeshua's return. And according to Paul, he will destroy the Antichrist with the brightness of his coming. And when we compare that with the top of Isaiah 63, it says, who is that comes from Edom? We know that the Antichrist are the children of Edom. The Antichrist is not a person, it's an entire bloodline. Edom is not a color, it's an entire bloodline. Bloodlines come in all shapes and sizes. So now let's read Jeremiah 49, verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Most High of Hosts, His wisdom no more in Teman, his counsel perished from the prudent. Is their wisdom vanished? Skip down to verse 10. But I have made Esau bare, and I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. And now we skip down to verse 19. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitation of the strong. But I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? So we see that according to Isaiah and Jeremiah, that the Most High plans to destroy the Antichrist, or the children of Edom, by the hand of Yeshua, or Christ, at his coming. When we compare Jeremiah 49:19 with Jeremiah 50:44, we see they both say exactly the same thing. Behold, he shall come up from a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitation of the strong. But I will suddenly make him run away from her. Who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? You see, the verses are identical. I showed in my last video that Yeshua is the only person like the Most High. He is the chosen man to destroy the Antichrist. He shows up during the war. When it says, who will appoint me the time, is the same thing as saying, no man knows the day nor the hour. If you give it a moment and go back and read the chapters mentioned in my video, you will see for yourself. The Antichrist are the children of Edom. The Antichrist are the children of Edom. The children of Edom is Babylon, the final kingdom seen by Daniel and Esdras, which I will cover in later videos, whom Yeshua will destroy at his coming. Remember, we don't wrestle. We go back and study. We review for ourselves. When you read Jeremiah chapter 49 and 50, you see the destruction of Edom and Babylon are the same, because they are the same. Now let's go to 1 Kings 11:15. For it came to pass, when David was in Edom, and Joab the captain of the host was going up to bury the slain, after he had smitten every male in Edom. For 6 months did Joab remain there with all Israel, until he had cut off every male in Edom. I want you to think about it for a moment. How evil do a people have to be for David to want to wipe out the entire bloodline from back then? You had all kinds of enemies of Israel back then. You had the Philistines, you had the children of Ammon. David wanted to wipe out the entire bloodline. So now let's read Obadiah 1 verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them, and they shall devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Most High has spoken it. So you see that the Most High will destroy the entire bloodline. Verse 19, they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Philistines. And they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. And the captivity of the host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath. And the captivity of children, which is in Sherephath, shall possess the cities of the south. And Savior shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Most High's. So now we can add another prophet to the mix. And when you compare the verse from Ezra that I covered in my last video, 2nd Ezra chapter 13, starting with verse 32, and the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen which I showed thee before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou saw as a man ascending. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have with another, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to overcome him by fighting. But he shall stand upon Mount Zion. Verse 35 says, he shall stand upon Mount Zion. And Obadiah 21 says, and Savior shall come on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau. It's the same event. All the prophets saw Israel going into slavery and being delivered by war at the hand of Yeshua, who will come and destroy the powers that be. Then, and only then, will Israel lie down safe.